She doesn't want the world. She wants the man who could give it, but doesn't. She isn't looking for the man who promises her everything. She's drawn to the one who could offer her the world, yet chooses not to. Her deepest attraction isn't to comfort or flattery, but to strength. She truly falls for the man who can challenge her pride, stand his ground, and walk away if he must. If you're the man who's always available, always agreeable, always waiting for her to notice your worth, you've already disappeared from her mind. So let's be direct. If you're ready to stop being her backup plan, this message is for you. What you're about to read won't be gentle. It won't be easy. But if you're ready, it will shift how you see everything about yourself, women, and relationships. You've been taught that loyalty, respect, and consistency would win her heart. You believe that if you treated her right and gave her time, she'd stay. But the version of you that overgives, that waits to be chosen, is the same version she leaves. You're not crazy for feeling confused. You're not weak for wondering why the woman who said she cared suddenly pulled away once you started caring too. Every man has felt it. That hollow feeling when her warmth fades, that silence after you've given everything, that confusion when being good wasn't enough. That confusion ends now. Today, we uncover what's behind her tests, her indifference, her unpredictability. We'll talk about control, desire, and why she only loves deeply once her ego is challenged. And if you're tired of being the forgotten nice guy, there's a complete system designed for men who are ready to lead with purpose and control. The Stoic relationship blueprint for men. This isn't theory. It's not feel-good fluff. It's a proven framework for reclaiming your value, mastering your emotions, and leading your relationships with strength and calm confidence. But this resource isn't meant for everyone, only for the few who are ready to rise above the noise. Keep reading, because by the end of this article, you'll understand why this blueprint might become one of the most valuable things you ever read. Now let's begin. 1. She tests you to control you. She doesn't test you to know your heart. She tests you to measure her power. From the very moment she senses your attention, she begins to calculate what parts of herself she can withhold to make you chase. Every unread message, every delayed reply, every passive jab, it's not random. It's strategy. When you bend, you fail. You assume she wants emotional security. What she truly seeks is emotional leverage. Every shift in tone, every sudden withdrawal, every unexplained silence, it's all designed to test your reaction. She's not craving safety. She's craving superiority. It's a pattern many women learn early. The power of affection and absence. She'll flirt, then vanish. She'll open up, then shut down. She'll claim she values communication, but punish you for being too open. You call it confusion. She calls it control. And if you keep chasing that confusion, you lose yourself. You stop being a man with direction and become a boy begging for approval. You trade your strength for her validation. You start fixing her moods, apologizing for things you didn't do, and fighting to bring back the version of her who was sweet in the beginning. But that version was bait. The real test begins the moment you care. She wants to see if you'll abandon your center to chase her chaos. If you'll surrender your truth just to win her back. Deep down, she doesn't want to be your whole world. She wants to see if she can become it. She doesn't crave your devotion. She wants your surrender. And the moment you give in, she loses respect. Not because you're weak, but because you stopped being the man she admired, the one who led himself. She feels it instantly when your mission fades, when your energy stops moving forward and starts revolving around her. She doesn't want a partner. She wants to feel your strength. But when you fold, she no longer sees you as a man to follow, only as one to manage. You'll notice it when she starts acting colder, when she pulls back after you've given everything. She's not being cruel. She's reacting to the power shift. Every time you overexplain, overgive, or chase her mood, you confirm that she runs the emotional script, not you. And once that happens, attraction dies. Because no woman can truly love the man she controls. You think being endlessly available is kindness. She sees it as surrender. And when she realizes how easily she can pull your strings, she doesn't see a leader anymore. She sees a follower. The truth is simple. She wanted to feel the weight of a man who doesn't move when tested. But when you caved, she felt pity instead of passion. That's the moment desire dies. Not because she stopped caring, but because she stopped feeling your strength. This story isn't unique. It's the reality of millions of men who loved with sincerity and got punished for it. But once you understand that her tests were never about connection, only control, you can reclaim your power. Because a man who stands firm in his truth can't be manipulated. And that kind of man doesn't chase. He leads. 2. Nice guys trigger her indifference. You probably think she left because she didn't recognize your worth. But the truth is more uncomfortable. She saw it too soon. You revealed too much, too fast. Your emotions, your intentions, your affection, all laid bare before she ever earned them. And in doing so, you remove the very tension that keeps desire alive. The so-called nice guy believes his kindness will win her over. He listens, compliments, and gives endlessly, convinced that his consistency will be rewarded. But what he doesn't realize is that by removing all mystery, he also removes attraction. Desire isn't born from certainty, it's born from curiosity. And when she knows exactly what you'll say, when you'll text, how you'll respond, she stops wondering. She stops feeling that subtle pull that makes her want to earn your presence. You gave her everything at once. Not because you were generous, but because you were afraid. Afraid to lose her. Afraid of rejection. Afraid that being your full self might not be enough. So instead of living with confidence, you performed. You gave gifts instead of boundaries. Words instead of silence. Attention instead of purpose. She didn't walk away because you weren't enough. She walked away because she already had all of you before she had to work for any of it. That's not evil on her part. It's human nature. We all value what we must earn. When you hand your affection over too easily, it stops feeling precious. When you're always available, she stops feeling the need to reach for you. When you over-explain your intentions, she stops feeling the thrill of discovery. You thought being transparent made you trustworthy. To her, it made you predictable. You thought your consistency would build comfort. To her, it built routine. And routine, without polarity, is emotional death. It's not that she doesn't appreciate good men. It's that she loses interest when there's nothing left to explore. Without tension, there's no fire. Without uncertainty, there's no pursuit. The man who sometimes says no, who stays focused on his mission, who doesn't respond instantly, triggers her imagination. He's not necessarily better, just more scarce. His energy feels valuable because it isn't freely given. That mystery keeps her invested. It's the reason she checks her phone, wonders if he's thinking of her, or replays their last conversation in her mind. She feels alive in the unknown. And that's what the nice guy never gives her, the unknown. He gives her the script, line by line, until there's nothing left to feel. You can be kind and grounded without being predictable. You can care deeply without surrendering your dignity. You can love without being consumed. But it begins with remembering that your value doesn't come from how much you give. It comes from what you withhold until it's earned. So stop apologizing for having standards. Stop proving your worth with words. Stop performing for love. Because the man who respects himself first will always be the man she respects most. 3. Predictability kills attraction. Nothing fades faster in a woman's heart than a man she can completely predict. You believe consistency earns loyalty. You think showing up every day, texting good morning, planning every weekend, and reminding her constantly how much you care will make her feel secure. But she doesn't crave routine. She craves aliveness. When every move you make is expected, her curiosity dies. And once curiosity is gone, desire follows. She doesn't consciously know this. She'll tell you she wants stability, reliability, and transparency, and she probably believes it. But deep in her instincts, she's drawn not to the familiar, but to the slightly unknown, to the man whose emotions she can feel but can't fully map. When you become predictable, you stop being exciting. You stop being a journey and start being a destination. You stop being a mystery and start being maintenance. And maintenance never inspires passion. When she knows your every pattern, when she can tell exactly how you'll react, when you'll text, what you'll say, you become emotionally invisible. Not because she dislikes you, but because there's nothing left to wonder about. You thought loyalty guaranteed love. But love doesn't thrive on certainty. It thrives on polarity. Every time you cancel your plans to be available, every time you say yes when you wanted to say no, every time you over-explain to avoid conflict, you're not being kind, you're being conquered. You remove the edge that made her admire you in the first place. You make her feel too safe, too soon. And while safety sounds noble, what she feels is stagnation. Because attraction needs movement. It needs the spark of tension between two independent forces. When you place her above your mission, your standards, or your growth, you lose that polarity. You stop being the storm she wants to explore and become the calm sea she forgets exists. And here's the hardest truth. She may cry when you walk away. She may say she misses you, even beg you to stay. But that isn't love. It's panic. It's the fear of losing the emotional control she had over you. When you return and resume the same role, giving, explaining, proving, the cycle repeats. She never has to fight for your presence. She never has to earn your affection. She never has to question whether she's truly inspired your respect. And anything that's easily gained is easily dismissed. If you're always the one chasing, initiating, and holding everything together, you're not in a relationship. You're in emotional debt. You're giving more than you receive, and she's spending your devotion like spare change. The men who linger in her mind are not the ones who gave her the most. They're the ones who gave her something she had to reach for. The ones whose attention felt like a prize, not a routine. Predictability isn't peace. It's emotional sedation. So stop being the man who fills every silence, who answers every call, who solves every mood. Be the man who lives with purpose, whose presence feels earned. Be the man she can't fully read, but can never stop thinking about. Because once she realizes your energy isn't guaranteed, that it must be respected, not demanded, her desire returns. Not out of manipulation, but out of instinct. Mystery is not deceit. It's leadership. It's the quiet confidence of a man who knows his worth doesn't require validation. And that kind of man, the one who leads his life instead of orbiting hers, is never predictable. He's unforgettable. 4. Emotional contrast creates desire. She doesn't crave endless calm. She craves contrast. Not chaos for the sake of pain, but the pulse of emotional tension that makes her feel alive. She doesn't fall for peace alone. She falls for the space between peace and uncertainty. The energy that keeps her wondering where she stands with you. When you give her constant reassurance, endless presence, and total emotional access, you think you're creating trust. What you're really doing is eliminating curiosity. You're removing the very contrast that fuels her attraction. She wants to feel something. She wants to sense depth, unpredictability, the thrill of discovery. That's why the man who doesn't always respond right away, who sometimes says no, who keeps a part of himself reserved for his mission, that man fascinates her. Not because he's playing games, but because he operates on his own rhythm. And that rhythm, that independence, draws her in. She can't stop thinking about him, because she can't fully predict him. She feels tension when she doesn't know if he'll text back, or if he's already moved on. That tension makes her check her phone, replay their last moment, and crave more of his energy. He doesn't feed her attention endlessly. He doesn't overshare to buy connection. He lets the silence work for him. Not because he's cold, but because he understands that scarcity creates value. Most men think love grows through constant giving. They smother her with attention, thinking presence equals passion. But all it does is suffocate the mystery she needs to feel attraction. When she always knows where to find you, she never gets the thrill of missing you. The man who knows his worth doesn't chase. He creates space. He allows her to feel the distance, not as punishment, but as polarity. He lets her wonder. He lets her reach. And in that reaching, her desire grows. You don't have to manipulate her. You don't have to play hard to get. You simply have to value your time, your attention, and your energy enough to protect them. Because when your energy becomes selective, it becomes magnetic. When she can't easily access your presence, she works harder for it. When she has to earn your focus, she cherishes it more. And when she feels that emotional gap between certainty and uncertainty, her attraction intensifies. She doesn't fall for stability alone. She falls for the tension that stability contrasts. It's not about being toxic or distant for effect. It's about balance. It's about being a man who is steady but not submissive, warm but not desperate, caring but never consumed. When you master that balance, you stop chasing love and start commanding it. She doesn't dream about the man who says, "I'll always be here." She dreams about the man who makes her ask, "Will he stay?" And in that question, that tension, her emotions wake up. That's the space where desire is born. 5. Unavailable men create obsession. The men who linger in her mind the longest aren't always the ones who gave her the most. They're the ones she could never quite reach. When a man's attention is rare, it becomes valuable. When his emotions are disciplined, not cold, but contained, she feels the pull of his mystery. He becomes the challenge her heart and ego can't easily solve. Emotional distance isn't cruelty. It's strength. It's the quiet confidence of a man who refuses to hand over his identity just to be loved. The men who master this aren't detached out of arrogance. They're detached out of purpose. They have a mission beyond women. They don't chase validation because they're already anchored in their own value. And that composure, that internal stillness, drives her wild. She might call it confusing. She might even call it cold. But what she feels is fascination. Because when he's near, his presence feels earned. When he's gone, she feels his absence like gravity. She replays his words, imagines what he's thinking, and wonders why she can't get him out of her system. That's the paradox. The man who gives too much becomes forgettable. The man who gives selectively becomes unforgettable. It's not about playing games. It's about emotional scarcity. Human beings value what is rare. And in a world of instant replies, constant attention, and emotional overexposure, the man who doesn't need to be seen becomes magnetic. She can sense when you've placed her above your purpose. She feels it when you start orbiting around her moods, her schedule, her validation. And though she'll never say it directly, she begins to resent it. Because deep down, she wants to follow your gravity, not become it. When you're unavailable in the right way, not neglectful, but focused, you trigger her curiosity. She wants to know what drives you, what holds your attention when she's not around. She wants to feel like she's chasing something bigger than her reflection in your eyes. That's the difference between obsession and affection. Affection is born from comfort. Obsession is born from uncertainty. When you stop giving her everything, she starts imagining what she doesn't have. When you stop proving your love, she starts earning it. When you stop responding instantly, she starts missing you before you're even gone. That's the emotional equation no one teaches men. That space builds longing. She can only chase what moves away. So, remain grounded in your world. Keep building. Keep training. Keep creating. Don't fold your energy around hers. Make her fit into your orbit, not replace it. Because when your purpose leads and your presence remains scarce, she'll feel something she can't quite name. A pull she can't control, an ache she'll try to rationalize but can't escape. That's not manipulation. That's masculine gravity. And once she's felt that, once she's tasted the energy of a man who could love her but doesn't need to, every other man will feel ordinary. 6. A woman only respects a man she cannot control. A woman may love many men in her lifetime, but she will only respect the ones she cannot rule. Respect is not born from comfort. It's born from restraint. From a man's ability to stay calm when tested, to stand firm when provoked, and to hold his ground when everything in her nature pushes him to bend. When she argues, withdraws, or plays hot and cold, she's not always seeking chaos. She's testing your frame. She's asking, without words, "Are you steady enough for me to trust your direction?" If you flinch, if you react, explain, plead, or prove, she feels it. You've traded your authority for approval. And in that moment, attraction turns into pity. You can't make her respect you through effort. You can only inspire it through composure. Because women, by instinct, feel safety not when you agree, but when you lead. Not when you beg to be understood, but when you stay rooted in what you know is right. A man who can't be emotionally moved by every shift in her mood becomes her emotional anchor. A man who can't be manipulated by her silence becomes her mirror, showing her where her own insecurities live. She might fight that at first. She might accuse you of being distant, stubborn, or emotionally unavailable. But what she's really feeling is something she can't easily admit: respect. Respect for the man who didn't crumble. Respect for the man who didn't chase after being tested. Respect for the man who chose discipline over validation. That respect, once earned, runs deeper than love itself. Because love without respect fades into comfort. But respect without love still breeds fascination. Every woman's attraction is tied to polarity, the emotional current that flows between strength and surrender. When she feels your frame is stronger than her storms, she relaxes into her femininity. When she senses you can't be shaken, she lets herself feel. She doesn't truly want dominance. She wants direction. She doesn't crave control. She craves containment. She doesn't want to lead. She wants to trust your lead. But she can't do that if you keep handing her the power every time emotions rise. The moment you begin managing her feelings instead of managing your boundaries, she sees you as another man she must guide. And once she feels she has to guide you, her respect disappears. A woman cannot fully love the man she must lead. And she cannot follow the man she does not respect. Your task is simple, but not easy. Stay unshaken. Lead without apology. Listen without absorbing every emotion. Care without surrendering your purpose. Because the moment she realizes she can't control you, and that you don't need to control her, she finally feels safe. Safe enough to let her guard down. Safe enough to love you for real. That's the paradox of masculine strength. The more grounded you are, the more she softens. The more immovable your standards, the more deeply she trusts. She may resist it at first, but in time, she will recognize it. not as defiance, but as leadership. And that's when respect turns into devotion. If you've read this far, you already know the truth most men spend their whole lives avoiding. You don't win a woman by loving harder. You win by standing firmer. Every lesson in this guide comes back to one principle: control yourself, or be controlled. When she tests you, stay centered. When she pulls away, stay grounded. When she challenges your authority, remember, she's not seeking dominance, she's seeking direction. The man who passes her tests isn't the one who fights them. He's the one who refuses to abandon his frame while she discovers his strength. Because when you lead yourself with discipline, you lead her without force. And when you stop chasing validation, you become the validation. That's the heart of masculine power: composure under pressure. It's not arrogance. It's self-mastery. It's not control over her. It's command over yourself. Once you understand that, the entire game changes. She stops being a puzzle you need to solve, and becomes a mirror reflecting the parts of you still unmastered. Her emotions no longer destabilize you. They reveal where you still lose control. And every time you stay calm instead of reacting, you reclaim another piece of your strength.